Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we're looking at AquaBox in the expanded format, and I actually remember putting Ace back in, so it's already an improvement from yesterday. But in all seriousness, we're going to be cracking through expanded a lot this week, trying to get as many lists out there as possible. I've been grinding away, getting some testing done, and getting a lot of lists built, so hopefully there's going to be a lot of good expanded stuff in the next couple of days. So, today's going to be AquaBox. It's one that I was very willing to try out and test because I feel like it has good answers to a lot of the item lock decks out there and has an element of item lock of its own which can shut down some of the turbo decks as well. So I feel like it's got a good medium where it can be aggressive and fast when it needs to be, but can play defensive as well. So it has lots of different playstyles available to it, and that's pretty much why it's called AquaBox, because it has the ability to take on many roles because we have so many different attacking options in the deck. So let's have a look at the counts and why I've made the decisions I have. So first of all, which Pokemon should we start with? There's so many that we could choose from. Let's start with Seismitoad EX because he is one of the big cards that you'll be using a lot of the time. Quaking Punch, as we all know, incredibly strong. One of the defining features of Expanded is that we have Seismitoad EX available. Quaking Punch for 2 colourless energy. Bear in mind we don't play DC in here, it's only going to be basic waters, so we need to get some patches and elixirs going, but it's quite easy to do so. We can do Quaking Punch for 30 damage, and your opponent can't play any item cards from his or her hand during his or her next turn. Slowing down a lot of different archetypes out there. There's quite a few Battle Compressor heavy archetypes. Anything trying to do a Maxi Engine, if they can't do it on their first turn, we can prevent them ever doing it. We can stop things like Night March. Even with the Karen that we do play in our lists, we can Karen all the Night Marchers they've previously put in the discard pile and then punch them away to make sure they can't put more Night Marchers back in the deck and pretty much ruin their output basically, which is really good for us. Also there's things like Turbo Darkrai, and even in mirror matches to an extent, we can item lock things out of the game. We can stop opponents using their own Dark or Aqua Patches and all these other things. So items in general are very, very important. Obviously everyone needs Versus Seeker and Ultra Ball. These are like the cornerstones of every deck. But there's a few turbo decks in particular that really don't appreciate Quaking Punch. And in those situations, we're going to go for it. In most situations, in all honesty, we'll go for Seismitoad EX early because it's just a 2 energy attack cost, so it's quite easy to get set up, and that's pretty important. We also have Grenade Hammer. It's an option in this list for sure because we are playing basic waters. We deal 130 and we have to place 30 damage on 2 of our bench Pokemon. That is of course mitigated by Rough Seas that we are playing. So you really don't have to worry about the downside too much, and 130 is a good amount of damage. With a Muscle Band you can one-hit KO Marshadows. You're already one-shotting things like Shaymin EX. And you can also knock out things like Gallade. There's a few key numbers that 150 is able to hit with Muscle Band, so that's pretty good. Grenade Hammer is a decent attacking option for you. He's not the highest damage hitter in the deck, but he can do that if we need him to. So, 2 Seismitoad EX. Following up, we have the beat stick of the deck, really. Lapras is going to fill that role. 190 HP GX. Again, it's a basic water. It has the big attack, Blizzard Burn, which is why I've called him a beat stick. For 3 water energy, we're able to do 160 damage, and this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. Never fear, we have the likes of Manaphy's Aqua Tube, and we can just simply Guzma to ignore that effect sometimes. So not too detrimental that we can't spam this, as we've seen previously with things like Volcanion and Ho-Oh. They get around this effective attack, and Lapras can quite easily as well. And with Muscle Band as well, we're able to hit 180. So 180 is a golden number for Seismitoad EXs, Darkrai EX and GXs, basically any EX and GX basic we're getting 1 hits on, other than the 190 HP ones, which there's only a handful of. So yeah, Blizzard Burn getting 1-hit knockouts is still what this deck is. We all know that Lapras is the front man in the standard builds of AquaBox, so it's no surprise to see him feature in the expanded list as well for his main attack, Blizzard Burn. But he does have a couple other attacks which help us out even further. The first of which is Collect for just a single water energy. We get to draw 3 cards. It's good in the early turns if we have fairly dead hands. This is a combo based deck. There'll be times when you get things in the wrong sequences and you're going to need to sit there and collect for a few turns. In general, against item lock, collect is a godsend because you can continue to draw into your outs, mainly things like basic energy. If you're up against the likes of Seismitoad, or if you're up against things like Trevenant, you can look for Guzmas and Rough Seas. These are both integral to winning that matchup. I feel we do have good item lock matchups, even though we're very item focused ourselves, because either we can break the lock with some things in the deck, or we can use things like Rough Seas to negate the damage that things like Trevenant will do to us. Bear in mind as well, I should mention Blizzard Burn doing the 160 base means we one-hit KO. Trevenant breaks even without Muscle Band, so that's a really important number to hit. We also have the GX attack, which is the only GX attack that we can use in the deck. We don't have the required energy for Lele. So Ice Beam GX does 100 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. Paralysis is not quite what it used to be, now that we do have the likes of Acerola and Guzma. And bear in mind, this is expanded, so everyone has access to Versus Seeker to find these cards, even if they are just one or two ofs. So Paralysis is fairly easy to get around, but it's not terrible, even if they are able to get around Paralysis, because especially if they're using Guzma, if they use Guzma, then the Lapras itself is safe, and that's the thing that has 3 energy on it. So even if they are Guzmaing up like a Manaphy to take prizes to continue the race, you still keep your main attacker, which is pretty good. So even though they can get around Paralysis, it's still a good way to go for 2-hit KOs sometimes. And I must stress, in the late game, this only gets better when you start ending your opponent down to 1 or 2 cards. The outs become less and less for the opponent, so Paralysis can work out for you. And against some matchups, you're going to need it to work out for you. Things like Gardevoir I found to be quite an awkward matchup. Normally we rely on early prizes from Articuno, and at some point we're going to have to go for a 2-hit on a big Gardevoir GX by Ice Beaming it into Blizzard Burn and crossing our fingers that Ice Beam sticks. If they have like Acerola on the certain turn, it can become a very awkward matchup. But yeah, we need this Ice Beam. It is a helpful GX attack, even though people can play around it. So yeah, Lapras overall, very good card. I just mentioned Articuno. It is, of course, important in this deck as well. Another 2-of attacker that we are playing, and it has the amazing ancient trait Delta Plus. If your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack of this Pokemon, take 1 more prize card, which means little 60 HP Rolts and Froakies and little 40 HP Tynamos even, they're giving us 2 prize cards, and that's amazing for racing. And a lot of the time, especially the stage 2s, the things like Greninja and Guardy, they can't really stop an Articuno for the first few turns. They just have to sit there and take the beating, basically. And Articuno will race us ahead in prizes thanks to its Tri-Edge attack. For, again, 2 water and a colourless, we deal 20 plus 40 more for each heads, flipping 3 coins. If we are able to flip 1 heads, we're dealing 60, which is all the basics. We also play Muscle Band in the deck, which I've already mentioned a few times. It's a really integral card to the deck. It means that we can just get 1 heads to knock out things like Curlier, which is also important, and other things like Trubbishes and Frogadiers. So trying to make the stats as good as possible with Tri-Edge. Typically you don't go for it unless you have the 1 coin flip to win your game, but at the worst situations, you may need to do a Hail Mary Articuno play, and that's always an option for you in this deck, so that's pretty cool. It can even mean against some of these higher HP things, some things that are above 180, or if we miss a choice band, a muscle band here or there, we can rely on Articuno to mop it up and take 3 prizes rather than 2 on an EX or GX Pokemon. So anything that's close to being knocked out, Articuno can prey on very nicely. We also have the Chilling Sigh attack. Again, it's just 1 energy, which is really nice, and it sends the opponent to sleep instantly. Again, as I mentioned with Lapras, status conditions like sleep and paralysis are devalued quite a bit, but there are times that forces the out at the very least, and it can be an option. One great thing about the Articuno's attack, in fact, is that it does no damage. You may think this is a bad thing, but it means that Acerola is not an out, and specifically Seismitoad plays a lot of Acerola now. They've taken out AZ to play Acerola because they can preserve double colourless energy, and having Chilling Sigh on your side means that they have far fewer outs to get out of sleep if they do happen to flip tails. And when we have Rough Seas, Quaking Punch isn't doing much to Articuno, so we have quite a few attempts to break their item lock. and that can be fantastic for us. So we have lots of answers to item lock. We have Rough Seas against both Toad and Trev, whose output is already, you know, fairly low. And then we have things like Collect to draw us into these outs. We have Chilling Side to maybe break the lock if it's Seismitoad. And we have our own Seismitoad, so at least Trevs and Toads have their own setup sort of squandered. They can't be firing off lasers, they can't be putting on bursting the balloons, they can't be playing Crushing Hammers. Both decks kind of play those at times. So we have plenty of answers to the item locking decks, and that's why I'm a fan of this archetype. We're going to continue on with Manaphy, the last of the water Pokemon that we're playing. It has the ability Aqua Tube that wraps it all in a nice little bow. It's pretty much the Darkrai of the water build, because it reads each of your Pokemon that has any water energy attached have no retreat cost. Very good for us. It means all of these chunky retreats of Seismitoad and the 2 cost of Lapras and Articuno is mitigated, and we can shift between our attackers very nicely. Bear in mind as well that Manaphy can attack, and in some situations it's the right approach to go for. In a donking situation, Manaphy does 60 for just 2, so it's actually the most efficient attacker we have for 2 energy. Technically alongside Lele, but we have much higher odds because we have Aqua Patch with Manaphy. So if you're going to donk a 60 HP thing, Manaphy's your dude. As well as the fact that it's very good against Trevenant. We are again healing 30 from each of our bench Pokemon, so if we're unable to find Rough Seas, or even in conjunction with Rough Seas, if they've been getting Silent Fears off for a few turns and we've just been drawing dead, Manaphy can stabilize you once again whilst doing, you know, a decent chunk of damage. So yeah, pretty good card, mainly for the ability, but don't sleep on it being an attacker as well in the right spots. So the other Pokemon in the deck are just supporting the archetype, really. We are using one Hoopa EX. Its Scoundrel Ring is incredible, grabbing you Manaphy, Seismitoad, and Shaymin. That is like the ideal turn 1 in a lot of spots. So Hoopa, very nice in that regard. A little bit frustrating that he can't grab Lapras, because there's a few spots where you want to grab that. But we settle with Toad. Toad's a good enough guy, don't you worry. 2 Shaymin EX, as I mentioned, setup is going to be what you're going for, because we are combo based. We need to start hitting Ultra Balls, getting them in the bin, so that we can get Aqua Patches activated quite quickly and get going, really. So yeah, double Shaymin seems good. Only have space for one Tapu Lele GX. It's too good of a card to cut, but bench space is too tight to really play more of this card. So I'm just sticking with one Lele. One attack still integral for getting the supporter that we need at the right times, and Energy Drive is still an option for us. We do have Ramp with Elixir that can combo with Lele as well. So again, it's one of these 2 energy attackers that can finish off things that we've not been able to finish in one hit, so can be useful for sure. Finally, we have Oranguru. He is a great bench sitter as well, and he has the Instruct ability. Once during a turn, you may draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. I've found quite often that a lot of the time you're looking to dig for a few things to get game. Sometimes you need Guzma plus energy, sometimes you need like Energy Patch or Energy Elixir or one of these combination cards. Oranguru is hopefully going to get you into those pieces to win you the game, and it's a way to end-proof yourself, because there are matchups where you do go very aggressive. Things like Gardevoir, you may jump 4 prizes ahead just with Articuno knocking out little Rolts and Remoraid's and such, but you've not really built the board, or you've not been able to thin the deck so much, and having Oranguru in the back just chilling on the bench means that we can still draw into outs even though we've not thinned the deck, you know, fully at that point in the game. So he's a pretty integral one-off card, I would say. Onto the items, we have 4-ofs of the important stuff and a few 1-offs as well. So Dowsing Machine is the ace spec of choice. I actually decided to put one in this time, so this is already a much better video than yesterday. Dowsing Mech can recover some important 1-offs. I see Field Blower and E-Switch, like, they're definitely important enough to play 1, but I don't have space for more, so Dowsing Machine fills that gap if need be. At the same time, it can be a 5th Aqua Patch, just like how it functions in Turbo Darkrai. Oftentimes, if you're drawing nicely and you don't need the resources, Dowsing Mech can just be a 5th patch, and that's really good for you. It can be an extra supporter, it can be a Muscle Band as well, which is an integral card for math. It can be whatever you want it to be. Dowsing Machine, very versatile at helping you recover the right items at the right time. 1 E-Switch is cool. I would kind of like more. It can just really save energy, preserve it. If you led something that's not one of your main attackers, you have to attach just a retreat with Aqua Tube. Say if it's like a Oranguru, you can just attach to it quite happily, knowing that later on you can e-switch that onto a relevant attacker. That's going to be helpful for you. We have one Field Blower, integral for getting rid of tools, especially off Garbotops in Garb. That's making a huge resurgence because of Trashalanche for one thing, and also because Archeops is now banned, so evolutions can actually, you know, do their thing again. So getting rid of Floatstones on Garb is going to be important. You can also help contest the Stadium War that little bit more. A lot of decks are playing like 3 or 4 stadiums in Expanded. Lots of decks are very stadium focused, so contesting that as much as possible is going to be nice. And also getting rid of Fighting Fury Belt is important because, again, we're capped at 180 and lots of basic EX and GXs like to play Fury Belt in Expanded, so getting rid of those is going to be big. You can even get rid of things like Focus Sash on Marshadow. So then we have the 4 of the important stuff, the 4 Aqua Patch and the 4 Max Elixir, obviously integral for getting our ramp. You saw that Articuno needs 3 energy, Lapras needs 3, Toad needs 2 or 3 to do its bigger attacks, so we need to bear all these things in mind. Then we have the 4 Ultra Ball and the 4 Versa Seeker to try and remain consistent. Ultra Ball, phenomenal for getting Hoopa in the early turns, and just, you know, Lele's later on, or other attackers like Articuno and Lapras. Then we're going to play 3 Rough Seas. I've mentioned it a lot already. It's mainly in here for item lock, but it can get value in general against things that can't one-hit KO your dude, so you can just simply retreat with Manaphy into another attacker, start getting the value of the heal on the bench, and if the opponent lets it stay around for 1 or 2 turns, you can get enough heal to push you out of range once again. So that can be very nice for you as well. So onto the supporters. A couple of one-offs, just going to be the Karen. It's our only means of Pokemon recovery, which is important because we only play 2-ofs of a lot of important cards actually. So getting these back could be nice, but the main purpose, of course, is going to be denying Night March all of their Night Marchers, and denying Vespiquen Flareon all their Pokemon in the discard pile, resetting them to 0. Basically, that resets their damage to 0 in many cases, and then you're going to try and combine this oftentimes with Quaking Punch to make it difficult for them to use whatever compressors or Ultra Balls they have remaining. So Karen, really nice for resetting those decks. We are going to play 1 Colress. We play a Hoopa engine, so we have a lot of bench early on in the game, so Colress gets a lot of value. There's basically never a time when you won't have a 5 bench if you want it to be the case. Then we have double Guzma. He's amazing. Completely replaces Lysander, I think, in this deck because he's great for resetting Lapras's Blizzard Burn. And in general, if your abilities are offline, we now have a switching card, which is pretty big because, like, we only play 1 Field Blower, so having the Guzma support means that we're not 100% all in on Manaphy EX, which is a big deal for me. So when your abilities are online, you never get punished for Guzma because you have so many energy around the board that you can just Guzma then retreat back into what you want. And when you don't have abilities, he's also a saving grace for you to move between your attackers. 2N for some shuffle draw. There's some combo pieces that you don't want to discard all the time, and Nning can be a way out of out of painful discards. So that could be nice, and putting your opponent to a low hand size in the mid to late game is also going to be big. Let me take a swig of water here. And then we have 4 Professor Juniper. I'm choosing to put Juniper in all my expanded decks now, so you can see straight away if it's expanded or standard. And I'll try and remember this going forwards. But yeah, discard draw, still very strong. Great for putting waters in the bin, and great for just drawing lots of cards aggressively. I'm choosing to use Muscle Band. I've mentioned it a lot when talking about my attacking threats. This is the best choice, I believe. Choice Band doesn't really improve many numbers, and it's not universal. It would mean that Toad can't one-hit Muse for 50 with Quaking Punch. It would mean that Articuno can't one-hit 17 HP Pokemon with only 1 flip. So it's better to have universal damage than it is just to have the extra 10 with Choice Band. And this is also better than Fury Belt in my opinion, because 170 is a far inferior number to 180. So we're going to go for the Muscle Band approach. Plus, a lot of decks play at least 1 Field Blower in Expanded, so and there's a few puzzle decks as well, so everyone can have access to Blower if they want it, so the extra health that you gain oftentimes isn't worth it. So I just prefer the raw universal damage that Muscle Band provides. And finally, 12 Water Energies. Water, so good. Obviously, we want to have Elixir value, we want to have Patches, we want to have manual attachments every single time. Because this is a boxy archetype, and we have so much energy acceleration, it tends to have a lot of attacking options. I mentioned how Lapras's GX attack is the only one we have available. You can choose to play Tapu Fini GX. This is an interesting card. Tapu Storm is a cool GX attack that shuffles your opponent's active and all cards attached back into their deck as long as they have another bench Pokemon. This can get rid of a big threat. I mentioned earlier that Gardevoir could be an awkward matchup for you. Now you could Tapu Storm away a Guardy and make it difficult for them, tempo-wise, to get back on the board, especially if they commit a bunch of energy to it. Typically, because we have so many energy on our own dudes, they don't have to be the ones committing, but it could still be a big tempo swing. Maybe buys you a turn to do another couple of prizes with Articuno on something lower HP. Additionally, Hydro Shot is actually relevant in this format because there's so many Shaymins in the game that Hydro Shot could just snipe a Shaymin for 2 prizes. So definitely a one-off that I would highly consider. It's one that I've not tested enough to put in my list yet, but it's one that I'm having in the back burner to definitely try out. Another one is going to be Drampa. If you're really concerned about special energy decks, things like Rayquaza is quite an awkward one, and also other Seismitoad mirrors, you can just Righteous Edge off special energies at times, which can be helpful, and you gain potential consistency buff with Big Wheel. You do play Elixirs, so Berserk isn't out of the question, but it's not very likely to get set up too often. What else do I have here? Oh yeah, Keldeo is a big one. I started off having Keldeo in my deck. I thought it was a no-brainer having the rush in to help you out against status conditions. Turns out it's not a good enough attacker with Secret Sword in here because everything else is just better, because things can get 1-hits, or things can be item locking, or things can be taking an extra prize. So Secret Sword just doing 2 hits, not worth it. Don't set up a Keldeo to attack with for sure. And if you're not setting up him to attack, rush in, yes, it's a good ability, yes, it gets you out of status, but we already have Guzma for that, if it ever comes down to it. And I feel like the bench is just too important. When I had Keldeo in here, I didn't have Oranguru, because you just don't have the space. You have Keldeo, Manaphy, and Hoopa and Shaymin. That's like 4 of your bench slots gone. That only leaves you 2 for attackers. And if you think about, like, there are games when you need that second Shaymin on the board, there are games when you need that second Lele. The Keldeo just sucked up too much space. So although it's great in theory, in practice I felt we had to cut the Keldeo because he just takes up that 1 too many slots to give us free retreat. Then finally, Glaceon EX is another one that I've considered. It's a 2 energy attacker with second bite that can finish things off. Obviously the idea is that we don't have to finish things off. We're getting 1 hits a lot of the time, but it is fairly efficient to do this. And Crystal Ray can do 70 damage and prevent damage from evolution Pokemon. There's a few things like Vespiquen and Gardevoir. These can be awkward to deal with for this archetype, but I feel like Glaceon isn't really the answer because those decks can just Guzma around Glaceon and take prizes. AquaBox always has Manaphy on the bench. It often has Shaymin on the bench. There are plenty of juicy targets for them to deal with, and Crystal Ray is just so slow damage rise when most of the time we would prefer to be a prize race deck instead. So not going to go for the Glaceon. That's why I've decided to not play those. Battle Compressor was another card that I initially put in instantly. I was like, this is a 4 of. And I was like, this is not a 4 of. Went down to 2. And I thought, man, this isn't even a 2 of. I tried a 1 of, but I didn't feel it was impactful enough, even with Dowsing Mech. I think if you're Dowsing Meching for Compressor in this deck, you're doing something wrong. But yeah, I ended up cutting this card completely. After initially it was high in my list. I ended up having to have more space for Pokemon, and I actually wanted the E-Switch that wasn't initially in here. That was a space for a Compressor to get aggressive Water Energy in the bin. It does combo nicely with Versus Seeker. I can see you playing a couple. I really like the high Rough Seas count. This is one of the things that's sort of preventing me from playing more speed than I would want to. But it's so important for defending against item lock that I feel we don't have space for Compressor. I think if you really want to at a push, you could play 2. You could cut maybe an Articuno and maybe E-Switch to play 2. I think those are the spaces I can immediately see. That's what I would try out. But it was hit and miss. A lot of the time the first Compressor was good, the second Compressor was rubbish. So maybe you just make the space for 1, and then it's one of those things where do you even see it often enough to make it worthwhile? So that's why I've gone off Compressor. I thought it was a no-brainer in the deck, play it very similarly to Turbo Darkrai, but I think we have enough discard mechanics with Ultra Ball Dowsing Mech and Junipers to get them in the bin. And unlike Darkrai, we don't have Darkrai GX, so there's less incentive for us to put a bunch of energy in the bin. We actually rely on Elixir just as much as Aqua Patch in this build. So yeah, no Battle Compressor in this list is something that you're probably questioning, but I've tested it and I ended up having to go away from it. A couple other cards you may consider. Acerola / AZ. I haven't tested them extensively, but I think in theory the tempo that you lose from picking up energy, either discarding them in this way or picking them up with Acerola, even if you get an extra attachment on that same turn, I think tempo wise you just lose out, and this deck is all about tempo in my opinion, and I've tested a lot of this archetype in both standard and expanded, so I feel I'm pretty on the money with how I like to play the deck, at least how I play it. It doesn't make sense to play Acerola. There's not much point doing prize denial when we could just be prize racing instead. So yeah, that is going to be my list, and we'll jump right into, let me just save this because I was fiddling with some counts. Let's jump into some battles. It is an archetype that I'm a fan of, and it's one that I've been testing around with and moulding as I go, and I'm happy enough to show off the list as it is right now. And I believe it's in a good spot. I think it has some good matchups, and hopefully the ladder can demonstrate this, and we'll have some fun. Yeah, I'm going to be recording a lot of videos for Expanded this week, so there's going to be plenty of me going on this week. Wow, this is taking a while. It's rare that the ladder takes a while. Here we go. Alrighty, Florus. So lots of different types in his opening slide. We'll have to wait and see what he's playing. We lead with two great Pokemon here. It's actually better to lead with Lapras than it is Seismitoad. It means if we sort of draw into a dud hand, at the very least we can collect because we're going second. And if we get a good hand, we can Quaking Punch. And the attacker that you want is actually better on the bench because that's where the Patches and Elixirs go to. So, Prism Energy. This is going to be a Marshadow box deck, it looks like. I've seen a few of these on the ladder. It's a pretty interesting concept. Ooh, I haven't seen this before. Interesting. I mean, I've seen it before, but just not in Marshadow. Starting double compressor is great for a Marshadow deck. One thing we don't play is Hex Maniac, or anything like Silent Lab. Nothing like that. And I don't feel like we're missing out too much. Ooh, they're going to get a fast raid off on us because they compress the Latios. They also have Metronome, so we have to be careful about what attacks we choose to use against them. And yeah, drawing into another Water Energy is not terrible. It's not great because, well, we still hit the Elixir, so it's all fine. We can attach one. Getting two in the bin is actually pretty good. Good start from us after a good start from our opponent, getting a cheeky 40 on us. Bit rude of them. Us being able to not have to put Hoopa down is going to be great here. We can just Ultra Ball it away with a third water. And we're going to go for Shaymin. We want to pop this Sash, and we want to do it with the Quaking Punch. We are very close. We can also pretty much negate that little poke that he got. It was cute, but it's not going to be great for him. Obviously, that can buy him wins against things like Night March. Ooh, an Elixir. We draw more Water Energy. Hopefully we can hit this. This would be jammy. Yeah, I thought it would be a bit lucky. As a Marshadow deck, I don't think Articuno is great. At the same time, sending it to sleep if it's going to spam Jolteon could be good for us. Feels safe enough to put it down. What would I prefer these spaces to be? Like Oranguru, Lele, I guess. We can hold it for now. Just go for collect. Didn't quite get the Quaking Punch, which is a bit of a shame. But collecting into some good outs here is nice. The Sash not being broken is a bit annoying. Okay, here's DCE. So he's likely going to start spamming Jolteon's attack here. Fortunately for us, he put down another EX Pokemon, so we can now have a Guzma as an out. Otherwise, it could have been a lone Marshadow that we just can't deal with too well. outside of paralysis or sleep. But those are our outs against Jolteons. So, speak of the devil, we got ourselves a Guzma. Magearna EX prevents us getting rid of any of its energy from attacks, so that's fine. And this is again where we see Rough Seas doing great work for us, just negating so much damage from this Marshadow. So we have much better odds of hitting this now. Nice. And we want to... What do we want to do this turn? I think Quaking Punch is the fallback, but I think ideally we find ourselves a Articuno and a basic energy. I'm not putting down the Articuno. Bit of a beetle. We will try and cash in from this Rough Seas as much as possible. We can just collect with this Lapras that we'll put down. And it means that next turn we could paralyze it. Oh no, we can't because of this. We have to deal with the Magearna first. But that's okay. We have Guzma for next turn if we draw into an energy. We could even Dowsing Machine Patch if we have to, or we could collect into one. We still have options. We still have options. Marshadow typically does go for a slower approach with Jolteon. Sometimes they also play Rainbow Energy and Dramper, so they can use Berserk. They are just going to Versus Seeker back N. I don't mind this too much. Our hand wasn't great. We didn't have the Energy Guzma that we were hoping for. Maybe we draw back into Articuno as well. I'm going to start setting up another Marshadow. Not too shabby. But he's not replaced the stadium yet, so he's really prodding right now. When we're retreating between our Lapras, it's pretty okay. Ooh, there's energy. We could Dowsing Machine Guzma. We don't have... oh yeah, we don't need Muscle Band because we can KO Magearna first. So that's what we'll do. Is it better to patch? Yeah, we'll get to attachments in this way. We'll do this. Gonna get rid of Shaymin because I don't think the bench space is enough. I like keeping Rough Seas more than Ultra Ball. Although we'll be taking 2 prizes, so maybe we could Ultra Ball for... Yeah, we can get rid of it. Come here, Guzma. Come here, Magearna. Manual attachment. And we'll take the first 2 prizes here. Rough Seas retreating around, really making his Flash Rays a little bit inconsequential for now. Drawing it to Viesica Guzma for next turn isn't bad either. This now means that we could paralyze him next turn, which could be great. Yeah, he's going to get another Prism Energy down, just a Sycamore. Wow, he plays Espeon EX, super teched out. I guess that's the point of a Marshadow box. Going to see Ultra Ball for Seismitoad EX. And just a Flash Ray once again. So, we'll Rough Seas here. I think... well, we can't Guzma because we don't have Blower or Muscle Band or Energy. Ultra Balling Articuno. Don't really like it too much. We have to be careful with playing our Guzma because he could start Quaking Punching. I guess if he starts punching, we can just start attacking the active. Okay, we'll just end. Hope to hit an energy at the very least to paralyze. Okay, this is fine. Can live with this for sure. Getting amazing value from our rough seas here. And we're going to pop the sash by paralyzing. Oh, sorry, not pop the sash. We're just going to paralyze, try and break the flash ray lock that he's kind of got us in here. Guzma's not in his discard pile, I don't believe. Oh, it is actually. He can lele. Does he play double Guzma? Well, I've got a fly on my screen. Get out of here. Oh, he plays PCL. Incredible. That's crazy. I guess some things will just prod and then you keep the sash intact. That's pretty cool. Okay, so our GX attack, not too important there. Getting rid of those things is nice. Field blurring to Fury Belts. Sorry, Focus Sashes. That's as much value as I think we're ever going to get. And our hand's pretty bad, so I'm just going to collect here. We're again going to retreat. Just get a collect in. Hand's still pretty bad. Actually, no, we have Muscle Band Guzma next turn. He's put down enough prizes for us to just win the game. So, okay, 50 damage, not going to be too scary for us. Yeah, just concedes. Flash Ray, copying Jolteon isn't the same as being Jolteon that one-shots Shaymin, is it? Yeah, we could have Guzma'd KO'd Lele that turn, and he just can't deal with the Lapras. He just couldn't deal with the Rough Seas there. I imagine the Marshadow deck has to play a few Field Blowers just because it's ability focused. But we got away with it there at least. Let's jump into another game. That would have been a slow grind, but with Rough Seas on our side, he wasn't really doing much, so... You saw the loop and how Rough Seas can be effective at least. That's good to see. We lead Oranguru, and looks like we're up against Night March, so the key is going to be Quacking Quack plus Karen. Hopefully that can pay off for us. We also have Articuno to try and do a prize race thingamajiggy, if need be. We'll hold everything for now. Opponent leads with Phantump, so they have to try and find one of their... Normally it's 2 stadiums that they play in the modern era, because they use things like Marshadow to attack with now, to copy Joltik instead. So the 3 or 4 count that used to be typical is now just like 1 or 2 D-Valleys. So they mail and find teammates. I imagine that's going to be discarded with this Ultra Ball alongside maybe a Night Marcher. Ooh, getting rid of a Blower. That's not bad for us. Our stadium isn't too impactful for him. Rough Seas is far less good in this matchup because it's sort of one-hit KO-ish. But once we get the Karen combo, it could be big for us. So DC does get committed to Pumpkaboo. We saw already that he plays Special Charge in his list, though. Maybe that means he doesn't play puzzles. Maybe it's in addition to puzzles. We'll have to find out. Let's see. The Fury Belts. And a Sycamore. 2 Pumpkaboos in the bin. Oh yeah, okay. So puzzle and charge have gone now. Or 1 puzzle. Good to know. Here's another puzzle of time. Double puzzle, so 3 gone already. So he can't access his special charge now, so he's actually down to 4 DCE. Interesting, gonna grab himself a Hex. Ultra Balling that away alongside Lampant. For a Joltik, maybe he has a second Shaymin in hand already. Yep. Good old Night March turns. Classic. Haven't found any compressors yet, have they? Pretty unlucky for them. Oh, what a top deck. What a top deck. That is the absolute dream here. So, we want to go for... I mean, Lele's the thing that's closest to knocking him out, right? But I think just Toad is better. Toad is best. We only have one. Oh, we should go Hoopa every time here. Because we want to get Manaphy established and Toad. And we can play enough cards to actually get Shaymin value as well. Kapow, kapow, kapow. That's why Hoopa is necessary in this deck. That's the gang. That's what we need. Definitely those two go down. This happens. Nice. We're on our way. We are definitely on our way. Now I could just... maybe the Guzma was actually better than this. Could just Guzma Joltik and KO'd it. He would have done 90 back to me though. Yeah, we'll keep drawing cards. I want to keep this large space open for Articunos though. Okay, that's really good draw. Rewarded. Start setting this guy up because he is excellent. And our Sycamore. Got to hit ourselves some energy here. Yeah, we do. Classic. And we're going to Quack. We could have gone for Grenade Hammer, but Quaking Punch is so much better when he only has 3 Night Marches in the bin. And no Battle Compressors played yet. TC goes on Joltik. Gonna see a Sycamore. Gets rid of a Giratina. That's not a Night Marcher. Can confirm. There's the D-Valley though. So he gambled. Paid off. He's gonna Night March for 70. We want to find ourselves a stadium here for sure. I mean, I could just go for a Articuno KO. If we miss... I definitely want to draw cards this turn. We are going to set up Articuno. How important is Muscle Band? I mean, we're still one flip everywhere. Where else could this Muscle Band go where it's more important? I don't think there's anywhere more important right now. So we'll put it on here. And I think I'm just going to end. I feel like that's too many Pokemon in the bin. We've prized a Toad, remember, so we want to try and preserve this one as much as possible. No Rough Seas is a bit grim. So, we Quaking Punch for the knockout. He has 2, 4, 6, 8. He has to get 2 in the bin from like a Sycamore. How likely is it? It's not likely. There's no other attack he can currently copy with Marshadow. I think we just Quack. Maybe we get Toad from our prizes. Okay, just Aqua Patch. We'll take it. Aqua Patch is still good. Marshadow comes in. There's another DCE. Fortunate enough to find their third under item lock for the last 2 turns. No biggie. But let's see if their damage is still hindered. Ooh, it's a Sycamore. How many Night Marchers? Looks like just 1, 3, 4, 5. 100 isn't enough. We just about hang on. And yeah, just the Night March for 100. Turns out we didn't need the Rough Seas after all. So, I think Dowsing Mech Guzma is our best play. Guzma, Joltik, take 2 prizes. Looks like our best line. We break the lock, but he's close enough now anyway on the Seismitoad. I want to take 2 prizes to have my highest odds of pulling Toad out. Our other alternative is to quit Grenade Hammer, take the KO on this. That could be fine as well. I think that's actually best. Yeah, this is better this way. I can't access Karen once again, which is a bit of a shame. I want to hold all these resources. They seem good. We'll just Grenade Hammer. All of our EXs are vulnerable. Both Shaymin and Hoopa have weakness to Joltik and Mew/Pumpkaboo respectively, so it really doesn't matter. These will always get knocked out if he wants them to. But we're up in the prize race. Articuno is going to take 2 more prizes even on one of these smaller things, so we'll just be super advanced in our position. And we have Oranguru to fall back on if he wants to end here. And I think he's low on DCE as well. He has 2 DCs left this game to take 6 prizes, so he's already in a bad spot. Maybe Skyreturn's his play. Skyreturn could easily be his best play here. In fact, I think he 100% has to Skyreturn here. He'll never have a turn where Skyreturn is better for him. Okay, Fury Belt to the Mew, that's fine. Trainer's Mail, our opponent mulling it over. What are they going to grab here that changes the game? Ooh, Lysander's an interesting call. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. They can't currently deal with Articuno, but they have items available. They are going to go for an N here. Ending away our beautiful hand. Into a beautiful hand. Having Colress is pretty nice at times like this. Here's Joltik. No Skyreturn, so good for us. So our opponent takes his first 2. We'll be going down to 1 remaining. Guaranteed thanks to Muscle Band. We don't need any flips to help us. Versus Seeker. Still no. Karen. But you can see that we've not particularly needed it, to be honest. We can just attach to Manaphy, I guess. I mean, we're drawing 9 cards. We're going to get outs to attach to, right? Better outs than Manaphy. Yeah, that's a better out than Manaphy. It's not guaranteed. I think we should get another attacker instead. Rough Seas is dead at this point. Let's just guarantee a KO on anything that he can throw up. As long as this Elixir hits, I'll attach everything to Lapras. If it misses, I may still go Manaphy. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Lapras is ready to go. Patch City doing its thing. Tri-Edge doing its thing. Getting heads just to troll our opponent a little bit more. And that's game. Nice, didn't even use Karen that game. Karen does solidify the matchup. I feel it's still like necessary because, I mean, otherwise it would be just like a rescue stretcher. So it may as well be a Karen to help improve the matchup. And it also is there for Vespi Flareon, which is like a way harder matchup that you're teching for at the same time. So it's good to see that we're not just like Karen and Prey, but it's good to see that we can beat it without. And it's good to know that it's there. Having a higher win rate against the deck isn't ever a bad thing, right? Let's have one more game with AquaBox. Because it's going pretty well. Beat a Marshadow box and we beat a Night March. Also featuring Marshadow. Not featuring Maxi, it looked like. But we'll see. Last game in here. Let's flip the coin. Go in second. See a Rayquaza box. Maybe it's a Rayquaza deck that we're up against. We will lead Oranguru because, as I mentioned earlier, it's better to keep the attacking or the probable attackers to be on the bench because of patches and elixirs. So, looks like we're going to benefit from Mulligan here. Raichu. Raichu's not the easiest of matchups, but Articuno will be good here, I would imagine. Unless it's a Raichu in just a Ray. Give me some mulligans. They're actually 2 really bad draws. Shaymin starts. Okay. Elixir succeeds. And it does twice broken. Let's attach to the monkey. Let's muscle band and let's set up for 3 cards. Colress is bad. E-switch is bad. We can hold the hand. Like, we're super close to attacking next turn. Yeah, it's chill. We'll pass. We'll learn more about their deck. If it's a Raichu or a Ray, we'll get big value from Colress next turn. While they just vomit Pokemon. Okay, Hoopa EX makes me think it's more likely to be a Ray deck that plays Raichu than just a Raichu dot deck. Maybe worse for us depending on what tech Pokemon he plays, what energy he plays. If it's Grass and Virizion, that's pretty awkward. If it's Metal Magearna, it's less awkward because we can at least one-bang the Magearna. Having him Ultra Ball away at DC is suspect. Maybe he has Special Charge in hand with another DC. I don't know. I'm confused. Ultra Balling away at DC never seems like a great play. Attaches one to his Shaymin, so we're not going to get knocked out, which is alright. We'll take it. Gonna see a Megaphone for our Muscle Band, that's fine. Interesting to see that they play Megaphone and not Field Blower. This man's expecting Tool Drop. Looks like. Is it just going to be a Mega for turn? Yeah, see, just a Mega for turn. And now there's a DC on Shaymin. Theoretically, we can knock it out. Oranguru does 100. If we hit another Muscle Band, if we hit a Muscle Band or Dowsing Mech, we can knock it out with Guru. That would be good. Alternative is to attach and flip loads of coins. I think we're way more likely to do it with Guru. It also burns a few extra cards for us to actually Shaymin. 2. I'm happy to Shaymin because it's an extra Colress card as well. Ultra Ball is really good here. So we want to start setting up Toad, right? Toad is a great fallback because he hasn't got Mega Turbo available yet. Toad is better than Lapras, I believe, right now. Yeah. An 8-card Colress is going to be nice. Muscle Band. Let's go, team. And we have Toad ready to go if we want it to be ready to go. And I think the answer is... If we're not punching this turn, we want to set up Lapras, right? Yeah, we want to set up Lapras. At least for 1 energy. It's not likely he can get DCE, Energy, Guzma. It's not hugely likely, at least. You'd have to get like Dragonite into a bunch of Shaymins and stuff. I'm going to double to Lapras, cash in while I can, because Guru might be going down, and then we lose our sort of like end-proofing mechanic. That's the only downside of us using Guru so proactively here. The Ultra Ball looks kind of good, but also kind of ugly at the same time, so we'll just go for the prizes here. Blow is a good card to pick up against Ray. So depending on what tech Pokemon he plays, like if it's Magena, we can one-shot it with Lapras, but it means we can't Ice Beam the Ray. Okay, so we had 3 DC in his hand. Whoa, that's slow. Okay. We got this, boys. I think we're just racing now. We just have so much fuel in the deck to just power through, I think. I want to take nothing so I can draw 1 card with Oranguru, I guess. Because the Lele coming down isn't great, is it? We're going to 2-shot with Guru plus... No, okay, we'll Guru plus Lele. That'll be our plan. So we're going to 1-shot this Shaymin, then we're going to 2-shot with Oranguru into Lele. So yeah. I could also have Ice Beamed this, but I think we're just racing so nicely here that it's fine. And our opponent's been drawing bad. Like, real bad. Putting those from prizes is godly as well. Yeah, he sends up Hoopa. He's got nothing. He's just got nothing. Just bad Ray turns. Looks like he's been rayed. We'll just go for Guzma again, I guess. I again could have paid retreat and gone into Lapras for the Ice Beam again. I think this is fine. Either way, like if he somehow KOs Lapras, we have Oranguru. If he kills Oranguru, we have Lapras. So Lightning Energy, that's probably like the easiest one for us to play around. Yeah, that's game over. Ray drew dead. We didn't. Ray is actually a hard matchup if they play Virizion for sure. But we were able to trade quite nicely. So, that is going to be it, guys. Water Box, AquaBox, Patch City, whatever you call it. It's deadly, and it's good and expanded. I hope through the games you saw how my list functioned and the decisions behind the cards, why I'm not playing things like Battle Compressor. Sure, you can go ahead and play against, try out Compressor. We didn't see Rough Season too much strength. We saw how good it was against the Marshadow deck, but trust me, it is integral for Toad matchups and for Trev. So bear that in mind. It may seem like a card that you'd want to cut just for things like Compressors or even things like Brooklet Hill, like I do in Standard. But it's really important in Expanded to have the high count. It's just a really important card. So yeah, that is going to be it, guys. AquaBox doing well, and is also a threat in Expanded. So hope you enjoyed this video. Plenty more Expanded stuff to come. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. For now, though, it has been Joe from OmniPoke. I'll be seeing you guys next time. Cheers.